for, this was 2017 Christmas, and I just wrote on Facebook and stated, I'm running for Senate. And I woke up the next morning to about close to 700 comments, and I was like, "What did I just do?" And I looked at my accounts first. I looked at the size of what I was talking about. Over the time, I remember we started with 6 people in our campaign group. I had less than 80,000 to throw away, not family money, but campaign money to throw away at the time. I'll say before the end of campaigns in 2019. I had spent over, the campaign had spent over, give or take, 39.4 million, because I wasn't ready to cross the 40 million boundary. I realized I also did not have money, so I could only beat them with the only thing I knew how to do, and that was my understanding of the Constitution. So I was able to propose 49 bills in the final leg of my campaign year, which was between 2018 and 2019. That's 49 bills in 1 year. That's higher than any African legislator in history. After that, I had a race. Well, surprisingly, I was the richest of all 21 candidates that came out of the FCT. The FCT being having only one senator. So while running for that, we gave quite a good race. And I know after everything, we're like, what were we going to do next? And I realized you cannot bring out the kind of people that were going to run. My own type will never win an office in Nigeria if we didn't go back into educating people. So I focused on what we call politeracy, which is political literacy. And we set up the Electoral College with about 4 of my friends. Over the course of time, the Electoral College has done the only virtual e-debates, political debates in Nigeria, especially at senatorial level. That was for the Lagos East by-elections. Over the course of time, the Electoral College has trained over 9,000. We're on our 10th cohort right now, opening, and we hope to reach 10,000 before 2023 elections. We've done a lot in media. We've intervened. We're part of helping develop the Electoral Act. I worked across a lot of things. I think I was telling somebody earlier today, I'm 43. I'm married, of course, to a lovely Akwa Ibom woman. I have a son. Like I was telling someone today, I said, I might be 43, but in political age, I think I've lived about 65 years. So I look forward to engaging everyone, having quite a relaxed conversation. The Electoral Act today, which is the topic, is actually the guideline. So let's call it, for purposes, let's call it the Holy Book of Elections. And that is the Electoral Act. It guides every operation in which Nigeria does performs its functions. Now, it's key to note at this point in time that the Electoral Act is what empowers INEC to handle its vision. It's also what empowers it to do what it does. The Electoral Act also helps control and coordinate the way elections are being done and the way campaigns are run. Over the course of this, I have a PowerPoint. I remember I shared the Electoral Act with Pastor Olu earlier, and I would like to proceed, if it's okay by everyone. I would like to proceed with a PowerPoint explaining how the Electoral Act and everything else works. Thank you very much. And Pastor Olu, back to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for everything, and thank you for coming. I heard you say you are 43. That's okay. You soon be 50 and 70.
Amen.
Can I hear an amen to that? But that's
Amen.
a good age. It's a good leadership age, to be honest. Martin Luther King was only 38 or 39 when they snuffed him out. And I think John F. Kennedy was about 42 or 43 when he became president of the US. And I think your friend, Sunak, is 46 or so, or 45. So, Enyilokon is 42. Your time.
42.
Sunak is 42.
Yes.
So you're even too old to be British Prime Minister. So, and you look, right. Tell us about this electoral college. What really does it mean? And what do you do? And how did you come up with the electoral college? And what are you people trying to do with the electoral college?
Okay, so we coined the name Electoral College. You know, there's an Electoral College in Africa. So in America, sorry. So from a name, we needed, okay, I have a basic in branding and startups for companies. That's what I do. So we felt we needed to give it a name that struck a chord. So the Electoral College Nigeria was quite an easy pick for us to make. So the Electoral College, we're fully focused on political literacy. And we do this in a few parameters. The first will be actually delivery of courses. So we run a 26 course module, which covers things from the legislative, the executive, result collation during elections, psychology of politics, political party and structure and its mechanisms, challenges of young people and women, challenges of youth, women, and people living with disability in politics, manifesto and agenda, because we also believe, and the reason why we have these courses is that we believe that if you do not understand how a good manifesto should be, you cannot tell how a good manifesto would look. So we're very focused on political literacy. We also have radio programs in Abuja with WeFM, I keep forgetting the name of the Hausa station. We have one in Kano, and we've run these 26 modules on those stations, which we just recap with a moderator. We also have gone as far as Twitter Spaces also to help debate on things and issues. And when, like, for example, I'll give an example, when critical matters like diaspora funding of political parties are being called upon, the Electoral College is called on to help define what exactly the Electoral Act says on this by TV stations. We also worked with the National Assembly in coming up with the Electoral Act 2022. Where we worked in conjunction with CSOs and the National Assembly. The Electoral College too is very at the forefront of pushing new political narratives. We right now, we in partnership with a few other media houses are beginning to take a tracking of political campaign financing being one of the key things. We look at debates also as a key instrumental way of keeping people in parameters. Now, most candidates make elaborate statements and the electorate cannot tell the difference on whether it's right or not. So we feel if we intervene at political debate levels, we'll be able to control what exactly the candidate can say and what the electorate hears. So I'll give an example. The virtual debate, which was held by us, was at senatorial level for the Lagos East by-election, Lagos East Senatorial District by-elections. And, we had people coming there who were planning to run for Senate, and they were talking about executive functions. Now, executive functions, I'll build schools, I'll do this. And we were telling them, no, we want to hear the kind of bills you propose that would affect the Nigerian people if it's as warrants education. And, we helped push that narrative, at least to the way their actual office should function. Let's remember that constituency projects are non-constitutional. So the average job of a legislator in Nigeria is to make laws and amend the constitution and then provide executive oversight to budgeting. And those are the kind of areas and fields we work within. And quite a lot more, but I think it's a little too expansive to mention. I also say key, we've developed a book for 13-year-olds to 30. We've not launched it yet, to be simplifying politics and governance with our 26 modules. We've added graphics, made it look interesting. We've always believed that the only way we can achieve something in Nigeria or rekindle the passion for politics and governance in Nigeria is to make it look presentable or make it look hip, if I may use the word. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, that's good. I want you to give me an X-ray and an analysis of politics in Nigeria and the political situation in Nigeria and your opinion of what the whole place looks like and what you think. What do you think of our politics? What do you think of the state of our politics? What do you think of our political actors? And what, just your opinion of what to do or where we are.
Thank you very much, sir. The first problem I think we have with our electorate or with politics generally in Nigeria is first, no matter how educated we are in Nigeria, 85% of Nigerians are politically illiterate. Next, those in office, averagely 75% of the people in office are also politically illiterate. Well, it's from the society this happens. So you have a very complex situation in Nigeria. So I'll give an example. Section 95(2) of the Electoral Act of Nigeria states that you cannot use state apparatus or media to support or to the disadvantage of anyone running for office. That's Section 95(2) of the Electoral Act. But surprisingly, you have a minister that's a campaign spokesman. You have a chairman of the Nigerian Diaspora Commission always coming out to type, have support for a particular candidate. Now, these are things that are totally contravenes the Electoral Act. The Electoral Act also goes as far as to mention that campaign financing for president, you can't spend more than 5 billion naira. For governors, you can't spend more than 1 billion naira. For Senate, 100 million. For House of Reps, 70 million. I would say that even at purchase of forms and money is paid to delegates, we have broken this parameter. So compressing Nigerian problems, first is political illiteracy, which doesn't allow us to understand left from right. And even INEC is complacent in this. And I'll give an example. So before, according to the Electoral Act 2022, before parties can hold a convention, a primaries, or a congress, there are 18 political parties in Nigeria. 18 political parties must have submitted hard copy and soft copy of the entire members of the political party. Now, this is shocking because according to every party constitution in Nigeria, a member is not someone who just says, I got a party card 2002, so I'm an APC member. No, a member is a paying for at least 6 months, paying member of the party. I will tell you that in Nigeria, you have people serving as governors who have not paid their dues in political parties for over 2 or 3 years. Our work within intra-parties allows us to have these figures. So our political literacy is a big problem. The second is our mix-up with things that we consider important in politics. So I'll give you an example. Now, we always in a democracy, what is most important, as most people, as people are in Nigeria are told to think, is get your PVC, get your PVC, get your PVC. It sounds a lot interesting, but wait till you see the candidates that emerge from political parties. Then you realize that in Nigeria, what we have is kind of more like a selection than it is an election, because people have already chosen those candidates for you. So you have candidate A, B, C, R, and G, and you don't know how they emerge, but you must choose your president from those. So in Nigeria, what we actually should be doing, and if you notice any key country in the world, what you should be doing is at least getting a bulk into the political parties so that these decisions for candidates emerging, when they now emerge, you don't need to struggle on who is going to vote and who is not going to vote, because averagely you have a good candidate. The state of politics in Nigeria is like, I don't know, the best way I could put it, the simplest way I could put it is maybe someone who was born and raised in France, a chef in France, trying to make Eba for the first time. That's the best way I can put it. So it's totally foreign, and the things we push forward are the things that are totally not even important. Where do I see Nigeria post-2023? I feel with massive political literacy, we might be able to save this nation somewhere down the line from 2027. But a lot of work has to be done between this time. For me, 2023 is already gone. And politicians thrive off the fact that the average Nigerian does not understand anything. So especially, and out this comes from, the most educated sources. Now, people always say the grassroots are the problem. It's a funny thing. But the problem with politics in Nigeria is actually the middle class. And I'll give an example. Who is the conduit? You don't see the big politicians going to the village to give stomach infrastructure. So the middle class tells you the grassroots needs stomach infrastructure. The middle class are the ones who write. So basic lawyers are the ones who write party constitutions and ideology. Yet the same middle class that writes that tells you that political parties don't have ideology, which is not necessarily true. Thirdly, the middle class helps circumvent democracy with its participation in electorate. So I'll give an example. Etiosa is supposed to be like the smartest. I know a lot of Lagos people smile when you say this, but it's not the smartest, but we'll give it to Lagos when we say this. Etiosa is the smartest electorate in Nigeria. Now, what if I told you that Etiosa local government took in about 503 million naira from FAC allocations alone per month? This is not per year, per month. But yet, the smartest electorate in Nigeria could only achieve less than 6.5% participation in its local government election. Smartest electorate. So it's a shocking thing how we've always felt that governance and politics do not affect us. So the average person thinks, oh, I work for Shell, or I'm a big boy in Oando, or I'm a bank manager at a directorial level. It doesn't affect me. But you forget that whether you engage politics or not, politics will engage you. The choice is you choosing to be reciprocal in the engagement. Until Nigeria gets to that point, we just might never see really good people govern and try to push forward governance and politics. And I'd like to say this very clearly. There's a difference between governance and politics. In Nigeria, we mix the two. So I'd give a clear thing. You can't have there's no APC state and there's no PDP state. Political parties are only vehicles to an elected office. The moment you are sworn into the office, you're sworn to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, which abhors any party coming before state. You can't place a party before state. You can't place a party before individual interests. You can't do any of that. But Nigeria, we're in a situation where you have people from their official handles or whatever carrying, or you have a federal government car with an APC sticker on it, or a PDP sticker on it, or an ABGA sticker on it. The rest are yet to win gubernatorial elections. We'll wait for them to get there before we get at them. But presently, those three commit those crimes. And, it's all across the entire system. And, if I decide to talk the refuse dump we call politics in Nigeria, we probably will not sleep today if I decide to start pointing out multiple facts across the line. So where do I see Nigeria right now? We really need to get politically literate. I'll say they've said I shouldn't call myself a retired politician. So I'll call myself a politician on loan to the civic space. So a politician on loan to the civic space, I'll say this. Politicians know you're politically illiterate. They exactly know. And they know you won't do the right thing. The strongest arm in politics is not the executive. We've drowned ourselves looking at the president. The National Assembly together is stronger than any other part. And the state legislature too. I can say averagely, if I asked anybody here, councillors, are they executive or legislative? We'll have a banter here on which exactly they are. But the truth is, we need to do more relevantly for Nigeria to progress. I always say this clearly. Nigeria is the most populous Black nation in the world. If Nigeria fails, the Black race fails. Thank you.
All right. So, the Electoral Act. Have you been able to go through that Electoral Act? You understand everything about it, and what do you think? How does it compare to previous electoral acts, and what are the booby traps there? And what should people like Peter Obi and people like Jagaban and people like Kwakwanso be watching out for? And what should the ordinary electorate know about this Electoral Act, and what does it portend for us?
Okay, so the present Electoral Act is the Electoral Act generally is quite a wide book. So I put together a small PowerPoint, which will help me, follow through, the various amendments. So I don't know if it's okay if I share it, and then we could just run through it very quickly so that I'm following, and then I'm following exact sections. I can't really quote the exact sections a lot. I've tried a bit, and sure enough, I think I've expired at this point. So I'd like to use the PowerPoint, which have helped do this, so that we can go over the exact changes between 2022 Electoral Act and the 2010 Electoral Act, and then the flaws we make in even as of now with governance. I don't know if that's okay, sir, if I could share that.
That's perfectly all right.
Thank you very much, sir. So sorry, everyone, I'll be taking a little bit of your time sharing this, and I hope everyone can see it. Can everyone see it, please?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so the Nigerian Electoral Act, my name again, I kind of like my name, short and easy to pronounce, 2 syllables, Kunle Lawal. I was just saying that to just get everybody laughing. So, and a brief introduction. So the Electoral Act, of course, in exercise of powers conferred to the Constitution by the Federal Republic of Nigeria in 1999 as amended. The Electoral Act 2022 as amended, of course, the following contains the regulations and guidelines, like we said earlier. It's the holy book of elections and how elections are guided in Nigeria. I'll share this PowerPoint, so I don't spend any time on the slide so that we don't run up time. So the Electoral Act, of course, of 2022 is broken down into the establishment and functions of, for this particular conversation, I'm only focusing on this part, the establishment and functions of INEC, Nigerian registration of voters and voter registration, procedure at elections, political parties, and electoral offenses. Now, one of the key things I think we do not bother about in this country is the electoral offenses, which are prevalent in Nigeria. And now these offenses are even from things we have taken as norms. So what I think a very smart scholar once said, Scottish scholar, said, give me the tunes of a civilization and I'll dictate their laws. Give me the folklore of a civilization and I will dictate their laws. So the folklore of our situation, of our present time now in Nigeria, has become the social media and whatever, or the practicing politicians. So we feel it's cool when a politician comes and says, I'm not attending a debate. There's no written law in the Constitution that stops you from attending a debate. But it also, the same Electoral Act also kind of tells you you should, of course, be at every campaign opportunity which is put together for every candidate to participate and, of course, be a focus or be a part of things. But some people choose not to be part of some things. Anyway, key changes in 2022 amendments. Now, before, remember, we used to always talk about INEC's budget, whether it has been sent. I remember INEC really complained sometime in 2019 their budgets were not there as it was supposed to. And for people like myself who were running for office then, it was quite shocking to have, an election postponed at 1 a.m. midnight. We had set out polling agents, give them money to, I was not one of the big politicians. So it was just small credit, small lunch money and whatever. And we had given it out from our stack of funds and people who donated. Then you postpone the election 1 a.m. This is Nigeria. They're not going to refund you. They're not going to refund your money for polling agents. That was a big hit. I remember I almost jumped into, I almost fainted. And so now to scrub all that, INEC is now financially independent. The new act establishes independent National Electoral Commission Fund, wherein payments from the federal government, investments made from fund and other aids and grants will be paid to enable the INEC perform its functions. Furthermore, the Act stipulates that the election funds due to the Commission for any general elections are to be released not later than 1 year before the next general election. The provision grants financial autonomy to the Commission, as it now may receive funds for the conduct of elections direct, as opposed to getting funds subsequent to vetting by the Ministry of Finance as under the 2010 Act. So things have changed. INEC now has money. If you want to work with INEC, you should work with them now. So the extension of time frame for publication of election notice. Now, the new Act provides the Constitution shall, not later than 360 days before the day appointed for holding an election under this Act, publish a notice in each state of the Federation and the FCT stating the date of election, appointing the place at which nomination papers are to be delivered. This notice is to be published in each constituency in respect of which an election is to be held. This is in contrast to the provisions of the erstwhile Electoral Act, as former Electoral Act, that the Commission should publish it 90 days. So it means there's more time. There's far more time for them to participate now. Now, the effect of the extension of time is to give the Commission more time to prepare for the election and also give political parties no excuse as regards candidacy and the partisan and propaganda politics that comes with choosing a candidate and preparing for a campaign. If you notice, primaries were done kind of quickly this time. Wow, party boys didn't get to buy cars as quickly as possible. Anyway, they had a big hit. Anyway, encouragement of early party primaries is also under this Act. So under the new Act, political parties are mandated to submit their list of their sponsored candidates who may have emerged from valid primaries conducted by the party not later than 180 days before the date appointed for a general election. This is in contrast to the former Act, which was 60 days before the date of general election. The change in time frame, the change in time frame is to submit the names of party candidates from 60 to 180 days, makes it compulsory for political parties to conduct their primaries early enough to meet up with submission of their list of candidates at least 180 days before general elections. Now, for extension of time frame by campaigns by political parties. I remember in 2019, it was quite cheaper to run an election. You just finish your primary sometime in about November. They lift the ban on campaigns in December, and by February, you're done with the elections. So people only have 3 months to strangle your neck for hospital bills. And this is the reality of politics for hospital bills, sacks of rice, especially that Christmas and everything else. But, now it's different. So the new Act provides for a period of campaigning in public by every political party shall commence 150 days before polling day and end 24 hours prior to that day. The former Act was 90 days and should end 24 hours prior to that day. The impact of this provision is the extended time given to political parties to disseminate their campaign messages. Now we'll go to 5, which is provision of central electronic voter database. The new Act provides for the Commission to keep the register of voters at its national headquarters and other locations, provided that the register shall be kept in electronic format in the central database, in addition to being kept in manual or hard copy format. Under the former Act, the register was only kept in manual or hard copy format only. So it means we're getting closer to getting an e-elections in Nigeria. This provision is laudable as to promote transparency, effectiveness in the Commission's record keeping, and in tracking the number of registered voters who will be voting in the upcoming elections, thereby curbing illegal voting by non-registered voters. That is 5. Now, there's a new one. 6 is one of the things that will change. That will be a game changer. Revision of definition of overvoting. So under the new Act, where the number of votes cast in an election in any PU, that's a polling unit, exceeds the number of accredited voters in that polling unit, the presiding officer shall cancel the result of the election in that polling unit. Number of accredited voters refers to the number of intending voters accredited to vote on election day. Under the former Act, it is when the number of votes cast at an election in a polling unit exceeds the number of registered voters in a polling unit. So before, what used to happen, let's use an example now. Let's say, no, I'm using Lagos too much. Let's say, Wuse secondary school polling unit. We say secondary school polling unit. Now government secondary school polling unit. Now before, if there were 5,000 registered voters, INEC did not care. If the number of the votes there were 5,000, it is fine. It passes. Whether it's illegal or put under the rug, they don't care. They just know that that polling unit cannot give more than 5,000. Now, with the new Electoral Act, there's a big difference. If the people that came to accredit and they were accredited by INEC on that day were 100 in that 5,000 unit, the votes cannot exceed the 100 accredited by INEC. This is shocking and a game changer. We saw it change the game in Osun State, and it will keep. It is going to these presidential elections. It's not business as usual. I know politicians are right now opening cookbooks, trying to plan what next to cook and which salad to make for us to try and dodge the parameters. But wait to see. But this changes the game fully, excessively when it comes to politics. Next will be INEC's power of review. Under the new act, INEC has the power to review the final decision of the returning officer in respect of questions of unmarked ballot papers, rejected ballot papers, declaration of scores of candidates, and the return of candidates within 7 days of the decision and return, where the declaration was also not made voluntarily. I remember a case of Ifeanyi Uba in Anambra. And the returning officer kept saying, I made that announcement under duress. But the law then, as long as the returning officer has announced it, it was done. Nothing could be done about it. And we have multiple serving House of Rep and senators, and a lot of issues within even the presidential election as of 2019, that this act, this position, people mentioned under duress. I remember a very popular case in Kano where the state rec made the declaration under duress, and the next night he and his family were burnt in the house alive. These are very sad situations that have occurred in Nigeria, and all because this. So now INEC can correct it. Even if you make it under duress, INEC has 7 days to correct this, and we look forward to seeing this in practice. Now, 8 will be exclusion of political appointees from acting as voting delegates or aspirants. Now, if we had a fully functional National Assembly, when this was slotted in, I don't know how they allowed this pass without reading it, because they actually passed it. But guess what? They obviously didn't read it. Well, that's the great National Assembly we have, because if the National Assembly were as great as they were, they would have spotted this. So Section 8412 of the new act stipulates that no political appointee at any level shall be a voting delegate or be voted for at the convention or congress of any political party. That means a lot of people that bought forms are supposed not to be serving in office. The excuse for this time is that the Electoral Act came out just a few months before. Hence the problems that have occurred within. So like the situation with Akpabio, who got through, and a few others that, it's still up and down. The case of Governor Umahi, I know it's still dilly-dally. This court is saying this, the other court is saying this. We're waiting for Supreme to decide on this matter. But it also meant that House of Rep and the National Assembly that were used to serving as delegates in a presidential primary couldn't serve. And they tried to really alter this when they finally found this out, but it had already been printed. And that was when National Assembly, Eureka, this party is here and we're excluded. And they went to meet the president, and they went dilly-dally. The president refused to amend, and they've been stuck there. So that's a new law. Does not allow people in elected office. That's political appointees. At this point, I'd like to explain a difference. Elected appointees and elected executive are those that were elected to serve in office. So once you are elected, as being a governor or whatever, you can campaign, you can do anything, you can run for office. But when you are an appointed executive, CBN governor, DGs, whatever, your loyalty is to the state. Your full loyalty is to the state. You're not, even if you're a party member, you pack it. You wouldn't see, yes, there are party members, but most people like to compare with the US. Yes, the Republican and Democrats have people in central bank as party members. But while they function there, they can't talk about their party. You can codedly go for your party meeting. Yes, you can vote, you can do whatever you want to do. It's allowed. But you cannot use your office as people use their offices and say, this one, APC is doing well, PDP is doing well, this is that. Anyway, you're totally excluded from participating. Now, if you want to run for office, you drop as your essay, your whatever, pack yourself. Though we found out that when you lose now in Nigeria, they will reappoint you. So it's like you take a sabbatical of 2 months to run for office and then come back. The death of electoral candidates, finally, the death of a candidate in elections has generated a lot of bickering among politicians. To cure some of the mischief in the former act, the new act provides where before commencement of polls, a candidate dies, the election shall be postponed and shall commence within 14 days of the candidate's death. Where a candidate dies after the polls, but before announcement of the final winner and announcement of final results, the implication is that the election will be suspended for not more than 21 days. Where the election is for legislative house position, the election shall start fresh, and the political party whose candidate died may, if it intends to continue to participate in the election, conduct a fresh primaries within 14 days of death of its candidates and submit a new name. For gubernatorial, presidential, and FCT area council elections, the running mate shall continue with the election as the new candidate and nominate a new running mate. I'm sure if we had this before Kogi State, Yahaya won't be Yahaya in Kogi State, but it's happened. But now it's been corrected with the new Electoral Act. So we'll go to 10. Now, for me, this is the game changer. So technological changes in the new electoral process. Under the new act, the use of electronic devices such as smart card readers, electronic voting machines, and other technological devices are allowed in the accreditation process of voters and in the general conduct of elections. Furthermore, the new act provides for the electronic transmission of election results in accordance with the procedure determined by the Commission. Goodbye collation centers. If you've ever run for office, you would dread the word collation center. If you are sleeping, even post running for office, if you hear the word collation center, you jump out of your sleep. And I'll tell you why. While running for office, you will notice at the polling unit, you had 64 votes at this polling unit. Once it reaches the collation center, you just notice you have 2. You'll be like, what? Where did it go? And everything happens. Magic occurs on the way to the collation center and at the collation center. That's where all the magic of elections happen. Well, there's no more magic wand. Now, what happens at the polling units transmitted automatically straight to the headquarters. So what you see is what you get. And I think that's a very good thing to have. Now, key points, key policy hot points for clarity by the media. Now, diaspora funding has never been cleared up by Nigeria. And I've always said the media is responsible for quite a lot of problems in Nigeria. So a party cannot receive funds according to the Electoral Act from outside. But there is no president of Nigeria that has won an election that didn't seek diaspora funding. A candidate can receive funds, but a political party cannot receive funds from diaspora. Campaign limits for candidates I mentioned earlier, and I went over 5 billion for president. You're not supposed to spend more than that. Governor, 1 billion. Senator, 100 million. House of Reps, 70 million. Local government chairman, 5 million. I think councillor, 5 million too. Mode of campaign engagement by candidates. Now,
Kule, can you clarify these funds? Is this the party that can spend the money or the candidate that can spend the money? It's not very clear. The funding limit.
So with the funding now, yeah, it is the candidate now running for president is limited to 5 billion. So I'll give you an example. If a political party can only have 1 presidential candidate, and a candidate is those who have won primaries, aspirants are those who want the position. So it can only have 1 presidential candidate, 5 billion. 36 governors. 36 governors will account for 1 billion each. So that's 36 billion. 36 plus 5, that's 41. meaning on presidential and gubernatorial, regardless of party or candidate. Party, anyone you decide to pick of the 18, whether it's APC, PDP, Labour, SDP, NRM, ADC, whichever one you decide to pick, none of them can spend more than 41 million, party or candidate, on presidential and gubernatorial elections put together. And, you know, going down to House of Rep, you now can calculate that's a bigger number, but it's expansive. But everybody is limited, whether the party puts in money. If the party puts in money into its presidential campaign, it's counted as spending on the presidential campaign. The party can't spend its own amount, then the candidate himself is spending his own amount. So I'll give an example. In the Labour Party's position right now, which we are also monitoring, they will say, I know they give shishi, it was organized by, that's not anybody's business. How much was spent at this point in time? If it's spent in the name of Labour Party's candidate, it is accorded to his campaign spending automatically. Crowdfunding, because if he wasn't running for president, nobody will be spending that money. It also includes the 20 million, the 200 million some people are giving for flood. Also, so those are parts of things that, yes. So it's very clear that the two usual suspects have already passed 5 billion in running for president. Sadly, I will tell you that clearly. But anyway, methods of primaries also. We now have indirect primaries, direct primaries, and then consensus. Indirect is where you have delegates, people appointed as delegates at whatever level. Direct primaries is where all party members are allowed to vote. And then consensus, which we know very clearly, is when the Oga at the top raises your hand and everybody else that is on the board raise your hand and say, this one, as Hausa people will say, or Yoruba will say, Emilokon, and it's done. That's consensus. And then we now move to adherence to rules by political parties. Now, political parties have probably gone on a spree of misbehavior. And that's because even their own party members do not know the laws to which they are restricted to. And therein lies a very massive problem. I'm looking at time, so I'm trying to rush through everything. So flaws Nigerians make within the Electoral Act. 773 states that each political party shall make a register available. I think I've stated this while talking. So the exact part of the Electoral Act that governs this part is the Electoral Act 77, section 77, subsection 3. 88.1, of course, talks to election expenses, which I've also spoken about. 5 billion for president, governor, 1 billion.
Are you done? Okay. Or is it frozen? Looks like it's frozen.
I think it's frozen.
Yeah, I think it's frozen.
I think it's because he was now stepping into very, very challenging territory. So the demons of the elections have come to freeze him up. Maybe you should, Olu or somebody, can you call him to let him know he's frozen? And he was mentioning all sorts of colloquiums there. They've come after him. You know, this game, they don't joke. Oh. They don't joke. Sonny, when are you going to run for office?
Pastor, very soon. But, you know, just to clarify, I think when he comes back, he was saying 5 billion for presidency. Now, when there's overlapping spending, what happens? So a president comes to your state to campaign, and you are also campaigning with the president. Is it taking that the president has spent out of his 5 billion, or you have spent out of your 1 billion, or in the case of senators, how do they reconcile that, you know, in terms of overlapping spending? That's something I would like to know from him.
Okay, that's a good one. It's a very good one. Let's find out that. Let's find out. So yeah, already planning
It's
in advance
10%.
for your campaign so that you don't overlap spend. I think that's a pointed question.
Pastor, you are my principal now. You fund it, and
I will fund it, no problem. I want you to run for governor of Edo State. Are you ready?
I'm still young. I'm still building muscle. Maybe when I reach 70.
By that time,
In Nigeria, when you are 50, they say you are still young. You know, you can wait for your time. Wait.
I know. I know, that's Nigeria for you.
But Sonny, we will make you run around the stadium to prove that you can really run.
To prove I'm fit,
Sonny will shock them. He will run around the stadium.
I will even climb upstairs.
I know. Shadi, are you going to run in Pretoria? Now that an Indian is Prime Minister of UK, surely a preaching Nigerian can be President of South Africa. And besides, you are 1/4 South Africa, and your husband was 1/4 South Africa, or half. Half South Africa. It was half South Africa.
You're muted, Sister Shade.
He's like the oldest South African Nigerian.
Who? Oh, say your husband.
Yeah. So anything can happen.
Yes.
It's a new age for politics, and the women vote, and the view. Every new things are happening everywhere in every country.
And to add to that, 8 Nigerians got elected in the US this election cycle. 8 Nigerians. Segun Adeyina, who was on the platform a few weeks ago, is House of Rep of Georgia, and Gebukoye, 8 different Nigerians. And I think about 5 or 6 of them in the state of Georgia, 1 in Minnesota.
Georgia.
Yeah, 5 in Georgia. So it's quite impressive what Nigerians are doing around the world.
That's fantastic. White House, here we come.
No.
We'll come to White House with truckloads of bullion van. So
okay,
I don't know
we
why
were told
herself is not running.
I'm too old, sir.
Yeah, too
he's
old.
an activist.
There is somebody
Thank you,
up.
Sister Shade. I'm an activist. Yes, thank you.
Turn TV. We don't know whether it's a contribution you want to make or a question. If it's a contribution,
Please put on your camera, Turn TV. We don't want people with acronyms. We want to know who you are, because people have.
he has put down his hand.
He has disappeared completely. Oh, he's back. Turn TV, who are you? Open, show, put on your camera. Let's see you.
Hello. Unfortunately, I'm not in a very good position to show my face at the moment, but I do have a question, so you don't mind.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So,
what does Turn TV mean, by the way?
Yes, I was going to introduce myself. So, my name is Abolaji. Turn TV is the African network television. We media focus on the African diaspora community here in the United States. So it's nice to be part of this conversation. I did get the link via WhatsApp group. My question is around the African diaspora voting rights. It would be nice to hear what is happening as regards the African diaspora ability to vote, and also as regards female participation or women participation in elections in Nigeria. There's been a lot of hopes that one day we'll be able to have a female president. Of course, it might not be today, but it'd be nice to hear what where we are as a nation as regards empowering women to be represented in politics as a whole. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I don't know if Sonny wants to take a bite at that. The question is diaspora voting. Do you know what the Electoral Act is saying? As far as I know, it has not been passed, or it's not part of the Electoral Act for now. that diasporans are allowed to vote. I think they're still trying to wrap their hands and their heads around that. But I know there's a lot of agitation from the diasporans, and they want to vote and all that. I think even doing electronic voting is one step forward in that direction. So I think it's a little bites at a time. But now our guest is back, Mr. Kunle Lawal, and maybe he should answer those questions. Mr. Tan TV, who runs a television station in diaspora, says, what about diasporan votes? What does the Electoral Act say? Does it permit diasporan votes and all that? And then he was also asking a generic question about women and active participation of women in politics and all that. I don't think the Electoral Act will specifically address women. Women are considered to be citizens of Nigeria, and it is for women to take their place and determine that they want to run. I don't know why for so long women still continues to be an issue as to women's rights and all that. I think it's just something that they should take hold of. Population-wise, they have about 51% of the population, a little bit more than men in number. So if they decided to vote for themselves and themselves alone, they will throw the men out of power. So I think women should just seize the moment and be ready to put on the trousers and do what needs to be done and not even be looking for some special treatment because they're women. If you want to play politics, you play politics. If it's to wake up at 2 a.m. and have nocturnal meetings up and down, this and that, you must be ready for it and be ready to face that music. Well, that's my opinion. And insist on it and not wait to be invited to the table, but just present yourself and say you want to run for office and have a compelling message also as to why people should vote for you and not to this and that, bit by bit. Anybody who is a man that has his thinking not quite in the right place, thinking that women are not this and that, will begin to change their minds. Besides, politics is a game of numbers. They keep telling us that. So if women will not vote for themselves, then there's nothing anyone can do about that. But let me not take the stage. Let me leave Kunle Lawal to face the hot questions. Then when he has answered the questions, me, I'm a pastor, I will insist on taking an offering and then we can close the meeting. Kunle, over to you. I hope you are not frozen again.
No, I don't think I am. I'm here.
Okay, go ahead. You had the questions that...
yes, I did. So, as regards diaspora voting, we've just taken one step, which is to allowing electronically transmission of results electronically. One of those who has been fully behind diaspora voting. I've always argued that for now they accord us $24 billion in remittances, which is higher than we generate from crude oil. So I don't see why they should be disenfranchised while running for office. The truth is that the power of that actually doesn't lie with the president. That lies fully with the National Assembly. It will be up to the president to sign, but it can also be vetoed by the National Assembly, which is legislature. Have they taken, I think nobody has really put the legislature in a corner in Nigeria. Everybody's always putting the president in the corner. It's not in the president's jurisdiction, honestly. He can have an opinion, but it's actually the power lies in the National Assembly, who we haven't dragged to court. I love the conversation whenever we bring up women in politics. And I know sometimes, our mothers and our wives and our daughters will say, maybe this sounds funny. But having been someone who served within a political party at the highest hierarchy, I always use an example. And whatever you get from this example will be what you might deem should be done or what next steps we should take. So Professor Remi Shonaya wanted to be the presidential candidate of Kowa Party at the time. And she put out quite a lot of work I was within the system at the time. She put up quite a lot of work. She did a lot. A lot of people would say, she couldn't have made it if she wasn't, she couldn't have made it. She couldn't have made it. But guess what she did? And she became Nigeria's first female presidential candidate. That's which he won the primaries. But, speaking at NBA Women's Conference in Lagos, and, they were all talking about politics, women must be whatever, forms must be sold half price. That doesn't guarantee you win the primaries. But anyway, forms must be sold half price. And I was quiet and I just asked a simple question in the room. How many women here, and this were about 400 women, how many women here are in political parties? The answer was shocking. Of 400 lawyers sitting down there, 6. You can't have dinner if you refuse to enter the house. It's not possible. Till that occurs, politics is a dog-eat-dog world, even for the guys. Trust me, for me to be on loan temporarily and run away, you know that I probably haven't recovered from 2019. So the truth is, but we must encourage our women. We must push for better parameters for them. And I feel that's what is best that should be done. But they need to step out themselves. That is where the problem lies. I've never attended a 2 a.m. meeting. And I ran for Senate, please, and I did very well. So the only 2 a.m. meeting I know I had was one I reminded you guys of when they postponed 2019 election and our small Tukobo that we had given polling agents who were sweating for it. That's the only time I ever attended a 2 a.m. meeting. I don't think it's possible. And I was National Publicity Secretary of a political party. I conducted over 5 primaries in my time and I never went to a 2 a.m. meeting. So I believe that's a hoax. But, to each his own. Thank you.
Have you finished with your presentation on the Electoral Act, or can we take questions and answers now? Because
Let's just take questions and answers. We've already taken time. I've shared the PowerPoint already, so maybe it can be shared to everyone that's here. And I've shared the PowerPoint. I've done with most of it. Most of it I had even touched even while talking earlier. In conclusion, so I'll just take.
Great. All right, no problem at all. Let's go to Mr. Taiwo Kulaja, and I'm just going to ask Pastor Sonny to conduct the question and answer session. So, Mr. Taiwo Kulaja, you have a question? Sonny, over to you.
Okay, Pastor.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hello. Concerning the issue of funding, as a practicing politician, that funding they are talking, nobody can contest for president at the higher level of APC, PDP that will spend less than 100 billion. Nothing less than that can be spent. If they know what they are, people that are even call for 5 billion, they know 5 billion cannot take them for 1 month. Let's put that aside. So area of funding, there is no way they don't have machinery to monitor funding. Because if you see, to pay agents in all the number of polling booths in Nigeria alone, the one agent, the one canvasser, that your 5 billion cannot pay agent and canvasser alone. So let's put that one aside.
Sir, please, I'd like to correct you there. Nigeria has 176,576 polling units.
Okay.
If you pay 2 agents to stay at a polling unit, 5,000 naira, making 10,000.
They don't pay 5,000 naira.
That is 1.76 billion naira.
Sir, they don't pay 5,000.
Wait.
I can tell you categorically. I've been in PDP, I've been in APC. I know they don't pay less than 10.
Oga, I need to correct something.
I'm listening.
Because they don't pay, or because we have created a culture to pay some kind of exorbitant amount. Are you enjoying it as it is? Now I'll explain.
No, I'm not.
I'm going to finish. I would explain against the law. So because you've developed a culture that breaks the law, that means it is right?
No, it's not right. But now what I'm seeing, reality, if you want to put on reality, There's no way 5 billion
No
naira
reality.
can be enough to run. They will shut up to
The reality,
visit every state. Hello, sir. I'm listening.
the reality we create for politics is what we have agreed is our own reality. So
Okay,
you
sir.
cannot come and so I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay, sir.
Would you think someone like me has run for Senate? Senate is a big position. Would you think I've run for Senate? Did you think I did badly?
It depends on the state, sir.
It's not depends on the state. I ran at the FCT. FCT has only one senator. And
I-
FCT,
wait,
I'll tell you, FCT is 2.5 times the size of Lagos. It's as well as running for governor of Lagos 2 times. So I'll tell you that it is not necessarily true. And I kept myself within the funding expenditure of 40 million. I spent 39.5 million at my elections. And if that guaranteed a small boy like me that was under 40, putting me among the top 5 in that election, come on, you're joking. And that doesn't
So
mean
I understand what you're saying.
not true.
But the frontliner in politics don't think like that. Let's leave that aside.
They don't do like that because they are used to breaking the law. That's the honest truth. There's no other way about
Yeah,
it.
Kunle,
And
let him land.
that's
Kunle,
something.
let him land. Let him land on his point. Then you can respond.
He should not be allowed to land. He's doing bad thing. He should not be allowed to land.
No,
He should
no,
not be
let
allowed
him
to
say.
land. That's what we are talking about. You should not be allowed to land. Kunle is right. You are the people causing the trouble. You are the one encouraging it. You should not be allowed to land. I'm even surprised he's allowed to speak.
Well, you don't know what he's trying to say. He's just saying reality on ground is that that money is hardly enough for the politicians. And let him say what he wants to say. Everybody is free on this platform. Then the guest speaker can then respond to it. Okay, we're sorry if you feel offended, but I mean, this is a platform where we give everybody the right and the opportunity to speak their mind. Okay, so please, if the man that was speaking still has something to say, then Kunle, you can then take it after he has landed and you can then correct him, or if you don't agree, you can then speak to that. Okay, is the guy still there?
Okay. He's still on the
muted.
call,
Please
but I
unmute him
think
and
it's
let him
true.
speak. Please unmute him and let him speak. There must be freedom of expression, please.
Yeah, that's
As long as the guy is not being rude or insulting.
he's not being rude, he's just trying to
I
say
apologize, and I'll say.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr.
Okay.
Tyrone.
No, what I'm saying is, I buy the idea of enlightenment. But now, if you need to do more, if you know the cause of our problem, as I'm telling you, we are talking of agent money. Most of the political parties put as big as 300, 500,000 per polling booth to mobilize. Even when you try to do anything, they will overwhelm you. So to tell us, when we know our problem, in our enlightenment, we'll be able to encourage more people. That aside, where I'm going seriously is that this effort of everybody want to be president, our Nigeria issue cannot be correct at the presidential district. Let's look for a way to, if you can get a good legislator, even though a devil can be a president, legislator will make him a saint because they have power to do and undo. If you have a policy, they can shut your policy down. If they find that you are not having good policy, they can drag a policy as a lawmaker and pass it to law. And if you fail to do it, they can impeach you. What will be easier for us to correct Nigerian problem is let's encourage people of sound mind at the House of Representative level, at the Senate level. It's easier for us to make changes. If you have 70 or 60% of members of National Assembly, sound mind, professional, people of impeccable character, this problem, let them bring anybody as president. It's either he do the right thing or they send him home to go and join his bad politician. So me, I'm of the suggestion that let's encourage people of impact, because of running for president too, a lot of things have to be involved. But if you get a very good size number of live people in legislature, even the president and his cohort, we have to force to bow down, because anything you have to do, you must pass through them. No law you can make, if you take decision today and the Senate and the House of Reps say you cannot take it, is final. If they pass a law, you say you don't like it, they threaten you. And if you try to push someone, they impeach you. What we need is to build strong National Assembly. Let's start from there. Later, we can go to the state. State, you don't have a legislator. They just have political talks, because no state assembly can look their governor in the eye and say no. So I will encourage those of us that are in big position. Let's influence people of imperishable character to be in National Assembly. By the time we have good numbers, we can start change can start from there. Because I know the political job in Nigeria will make it difficult for a sound man person to be a president. So I'm suggesting let's go back to drawing board, start from House of Rep, Senate. If you can get higher percentage in that place, we are good to go. I rest my case, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tayo. And funny, you closed with what I agree with the most. It's just that when you are discussing the reality, I wanted to point out that the reality of politics is not always as we see it. I'll tell you that in my experience, politics in Abia is different from politics in Cross River, which is different from politics in Lagos, which is different from politics in
Politics local.
They all have their different modes and operations. But in the end, I'm happy that we fully agree on what needs to be done. I'm even more of, you are talking National Assembly, I'm even more of us going back to the local government, building up the councils up, and really talking about things that really matter. Like, I find it funny when people talk about state police without talking about local government police, when the local government is even empowered to handle security and deal with matters of this sort. But want to say state police because it's fashionable and politically expedient. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Kunle. We'll call Tan. I think I like the fact that you said you ran a Senate election with 39 point something million. Will you say that your colleagues who ran the same election with you on the major parties will have won with staying within such a limit? You don't have to answer, just leave that one there. Let me take. So when you run in one party and you run in another party, they are two separate things. A lot of people just know that if you get the if you get the ticket of the ruling party, so they spend everything to get it. But let's get Segun to ask his question or make his comment. Segun SO.
Yeah, thank you very much. My name is Segun. Hi, Mr. Kunle.
Good day, sir.
You're doing a fantastic job, a very consistent one. My question is, I agree with you what you said during your presentation, which is the National Assembly put together is the strongest arm of democracy. I just strongly believe that the National Assembly has been let go for a long time. It's become a problem that Nigerians, especially the middle class, don't know who or why that the person running for a National Assembly seat represents. And so they hide under party flag. And so many things get thrown inside the works. So we have things like drug barons coming into the National Assembly. We have things like Yahoo boys coming into National Assembly. Now, my question here is that why is it that we don't have this senatorial House of Rep debates coming up? I don't know why. What does it take? I know you held one like 2019, or I don't know when was the last time you held one, but what does it take to have a town hall meeting for these candidates, and why is it not done frequently? Thank you.
Okay, so when I was running in 2019, we had a debate. At senatorial level. They had at House Rep level. They are not as publicized as the major debates, and I feel it's because Nigerians too will not look for. I'm aware of a friend of mine was running in Lagos, Fedi Adimefe. He was running for House of Rep of Etiosa. I remember he ran against Banky W at the time for House of Rep for Etiosa, and the incumbent who was running again. And if there's anything I remember, their debate was exemplary. I watched it from Abuja, I remember at the time, and it was held in conjunction with the BBC. It's something you can still Google and I think it will come up. It was in conjunction with the BBC, but we also have to understand that how many of us Nigerians will care to watch a senatorial debate? How many of us will care to watch a House of Rep debate? One of the key things we're interested in was doing the local government debates in Lagos, in Etiosa, and a few others. We picked a few LCDs, as they call them in Lagos State. And we picked a few, but if there was anything that we noticed is that very few people, apart from the incumbent party, wanted to go into local government elections. Number one, the average person thinks that hello. So the average, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
I can't hear a word. So the average person in Nigeria is not concerned about the local governments or running or participating on that level for local governments or debates. We're very interested. The Electoral College right now is very interested in gubernatorial debates, and there's a reason why. We need to show Nigerians how debates should be. There's a way we've done it that in the end you finish with a debate and you don't know what happened. I find that issue most of the time. I'll watch a debate and I'm like, what just happened? You missed it all. So we're trying to get that done. We're also trying to develop a route in which every strata of society will be catered for in the debates, and that will be grassroots, the middle class, and the elite at the same time. And this could be disseminated in different, but all work in progress. I'll tell you that a lot of work is being put into that. There are a few bureaucracies in Nigeria you need to twist a little bit, but I'll tell you this, I've dedicated my life to that. And I also will be interested in pushing forward for debates extensively. Thank you. I think Champ has his hand up.
Okay, let's have Champ Ajose. Thank you very much for the response you gave. Champ Ajose, you can unmute now.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kunle Lawal, thank you for the presentation. Please, considering Nigeria has some of its best brain in the diaspora, do you know if Nigerians in the diaspora having dual citizenship are qualified to vie for presidential position in Nigeria? Thank you.
Yes, you are. You are, if you're running for any position that's not president. The moment you
that
want
is not president.
That is not president. But if you're running for president, you would have to drop your dual citizenship. You have to drop it. You can only be Nigerian to be Nigerian president. If you're running for Senate, for the rest is fine. But at presidential level, no. And
Thank you.
I caught a question on the chat here. How did I source the fund used? Was it solely from your force or through a godfather? I caught the question, so let me just answer it. I saw it and I think it's an interesting question to answer. I have two godfathers and I'm always proud to introduce them. Anyway, I am. I'm not ashamed. Everybody in politics has a godfather. I have two godfathers. But my own godfathers are the Nigerian Constitution and the Next Generation. Funds used for my campaign were fully crowdfunded, and you can Google and check my timelines and you'd find out the journey along the way. I was strictly crowdfunded. A lot of people believed in me, and I was proving that Nigeria could be different. I was actually doing what a legislator should do, and you'll be surprised that a lot of people still believe in this country. A lot of people still believe. I actually was offered by 3 existing parties the tickets for senatorial for Abuja. They said they weren't going to do primaries, it was going to be consensus. One of them is even a party a lot of people are happy with, but I turned it down because I'm very, very much dedicated to political literacy. That's what I said I wanted to do after running for office, and that's the work I'm doing right now. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have more questions? Okay, Tan TV is back. I think you had your hand and you disappeared for a while.
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you very much again. First, I want to thank Kole for his response earlier as regards, women participation, and also to you. Just to follow up to that initial question, and I think we were recently talking to one of the women who tried running for the office of the presidency. I think via under the PRP party, and then of course I know she lost the primary elections. I think in our interview with her, she had mentioned that she tried to make a recourse. I think she had complained about compromised elections, people stealing votes and all those stuff. She had reached out several times to the courts to kind of hear the case. But then, one thing she complained heavily about is the heavily compromised judicial system in the country. I think it would be nice to hear your thoughts on how, what the state of judiciary is currently in Nigeria as regards, hearing election recourse or issues. And then lastly, I think it would also be nice to hear your thoughts on the diaspora participation in politics. Like you said earlier, the diaspora contributes almost $24 billion in remittances. But then what are your thoughts as regards to how we can further, contribute to participate, how we can further participate in the elections also? Thank you.
Thank you. So there's always been a mistake in politics being made by women, young people, young guys, young people that run for office. It's a common mistake. So you pick a party where you think you can have a ticket, then run for office. Not gonna work. Being honest, not gonna work anywhere in the world. I think the major problem with internal party democracy in Nigeria and issues of the primaries is how people just assume you can get into a party and just win a ticket. And I know why I'm mentioning this before I go. And let's also understand that according to the Electoral Act, parties have their own on how they are candidates, just like they do in the US here and anywhere else. Their systems are more transparent. But the only time you could be rigged out intra-party is when you have not been there long enough to have your own stance. So I'll tell you something. I'll give you an example. If I want to run for office in 2031, the best time to join the party is 2023. It's supposed to be a premeditated act. And I know what you're talking about, and it's the same situation if you replicate across political parties on issues that happen, people that just joined the party and want to run for office. Of course, there will be a little rigmarole. It's Africa now. We're not going to do it like the white guys. The white guys will just clearly tell you they're not voting for you, you just joined the party. But we have our own ways. We'll first collect your money for form, then we'll do what we need to do. As much as that is the wrong way. But the truth is, therein lies the problem. As regards the judiciary in these cases, most of the time, those cases of reported issues or whatever cannot really be substantiated, especially enough to push forward a court case or to appeal and change the system, especially at a presidential primary. And therein lies the problem. So I'm not saying that she's wrong, but I'm just saying politics anywhere will fight anyone, whether a woman or a man at that level. You can't join the APC or PDP or Labour Party or SDP or AGC or NRM or PRP or any of them and then join today and expect to reap the dividends of being part of a party. No, it doesn't work that way anywhere in the world. As regards people in diaspora, now I'll say something. There's the politics of Nigeria. I love what Mr. Taiwo said. There's reality, but I'll say something that is very, very important. I'm surprised the diaspora has stayed away from Nigerian elections, and that's participating or running for office. Not because Nigerians in diaspora are better, but you've seen systems work. So you believe in systems that work. Why haven't you practiced it here? I'll tell you the biggest fear of anybody probably on this call. You don't want to run for office because you believe you can't fight the reality. You're right. You can't beat people at their own game. You've been playing this game for 20, 30 years. But if there's anything I've learned in my own experience is that you invent a new game and then you beat them in that game. You drag them to play that game and you beat them in that game. You can ask how. I'll give an example. Looking at the present presidential campaign, when the Labour Party started with its 1 million march, every other party, 17 other political parties were trying to replicate what they were doing and failing. Labour was in control of the narrative then while running for president. You want to know the change in narrative? When the PDP came up with a presidential council, which has never been done in Nigeria. You create your council, what's anybody's business? But now they made it a big thing. And guess what? APC followed. Everybody else followed. And guess who followed? Labour Party that was dictating the narrative now followed them into the presidential council. And guess what happened? They got shot, hit, and punched for it. Poor political planning, poor strategy. So I'd always say I invite the diaspora to participate in Nigerian politics. There are a few of us who have actually been through this thing, who have worked and advised across states, across parties also. We understand how this thing works. We know how to beat the system here, how to beat the system there, and how to beat the system elsewhere. And we will always be available to you. We will always be available to help. I think what is missing is that bridge between those who really want a better country. The war in Nigeria has always been between two people, those who love a country and those who just want to enjoy from the buffet of corruption. That's what has been going on. Thank you very much, sir. I think Noyo's hand is up.
Noyo, please unmute and ask your question.
Hello?
Yes, am I unmuted now?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon or good evening. I was just going to respond to the last statement from, I think that was the guest speaker that answered our question. With the issue, the question I was asked about someone that's ran for a female candidate for the presidency of, I think, the PROP. That was actually the former NIDO president here in the United States. I supported her. You see, we have a problem where the parties are not even transparent. This lady came and said she was going to run. They allowed her. And now we are not saying that because she has not been there for long enough time for her to run. But they allowed it. So I think that's a problem because each of the parties that have their own bylaws, codes, whatever, constitution. So anyone coming from the diaspora, from anywhere, even within Nigeria, maybe women who are interested in running, they will now know that, okay, that we have to be in this party for a certain number of years. But if the party, the leadership of the party allowed her, because she poured in a lot of money, she revived that party. She did a lot of research. And then she went in with a lot of prayers and everything. But for them now to turn everything around, that even the sitting judge, I just read yesterday, is on vacation. And he gave it to a task force of people to go to look at the cases he could not hear. Just making a mockery of everything. But anyway, we are learning. Thank you for letting us know that people have to be there for a certain number of years, either actively participating or supporting the party in one way or the other. Then when you come out there that, okay, I'm interested, I want to run, you have the support. But this lady is my friend, so I know what she was told because she told me when I called her. For the chairman of the party to say that they don't want a woman, that's wrong. And that was basically what happened in our case. I followed up with her, yes.
You know, when I was speaking, I said said if to another country they will tell you, but they didn't in our case. If you're speaking of the PRP, the chairman of the PRP is someone who I know personally, and someone I can just pick up the phone and call. And I'll state this. Most of the time, it's what I just told you, that you have to be in the party for a while, is an unwritten law in political parties. It is unwritten. It's not a written law, it's unwritten. You know, there are those things like maybe we have within our cultures that are not said, but you know, are not done. Do you understand? So I feel, number one, in her case, she should have approached, you know, because she's coming from diaspora, should have approached more people who are versed in Nigerian politics before she took that decision. I know what I'm saying. Politics is a dog-eat-dog world anywhere, dog-eat-dog situation anywhere in the world. Anywhere in the world. And it's not a Nigerian thing. So I feel that she should have just maybe understood the setting she was running in. If she had more access, I can tell you that might not have been the party she would have picked, with people who were conversant with multiple political parties. It would not have been the party she would have picked. It might not also have been the party, you know, if she had dealt with some regular, but it's politics. I think that averagely, politics is a learning curve for everyone. Like I stated earlier, you can't jump into it and get it right. Trust me, you have to learn the game. Politics in Ghana and everywhere else, like that is different, and you must learn the game. So I'm sorry about what happened, but it's the way the system is. I can't speak for PRP, although I know the chairman, and I'm going to call him this night to explain what exactly went on. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Kunle. As we begin to wind down, I would like us to go back to your electoral college and what plans you guys have for the 2023 elections. I will take one last question from Stephen Ipalibo Lawson, and we will then close with what electoral college is looking at towards the 2023 election. And I will allow Pastor to come in on that stage. So Stephen Ipalibo, your comment or question, keep it brief, please, so that we can wrap up. Thanks.
Thank you, Pastor Sonny. I want to ask Kunle, how does he put all of these arguments within what happened in Labour Party? How Peter Obi clinched the Labour Party ticket? I mean, he was never a member of the Labour Party, as the case might be, you know. So how do you explain all of that as against the lady who never got, who perhaps you say she has to go through the learning curves and all that?
Yeah, Kunle.
Okay, I'll go ahead and explain that.
Yeah.
No, I just wanted him to finish. I thought he wasn't done, so I was waiting for him to finish. Now I'll explain that. Peter Obi has been in politics for, I think, since 2006, if I'm right, 2006 or 2005. He already has political currency. It's the same way you mentioned Kuni Lawal. I already have political currency. Like I said while talking, I said even in 2023, I was virtually thrown tickets at my feet. But that's because I already have political currency. This doesn't happen when you just join a political party. So it's the same thing. You just came into politics. I think that's the word I should have used instead of you just joined the political party. So you just came. If someone as powerful as Peter Obi entered, I wish you knew Labour Party preceding Peter Obi's entrance. Labour Party he was using his own chairman as what they call it, as placeholders, because they were just saying anyhow, when people drop from other parties by mistake, they will drop in, which even brought the issue with Lagos State candidates, which they had to redo a primaries because the Lagos State chairman of Labour Party refused to relinquish holding the ticket and said he was going to run because he had seen Peter Obi join the party and wanted to run by force, thinking he could win off the wave till my brother and friend Badebo Rhodes Vival got the ticket. So You can't compare two such situations. Someone who has been in politics for 12, 13 years to someone who just wants to come into politics and doesn't have the political clout and currency yet. This is done. If Trump today decides to move to the Green Party, he'll probably in the US, he'll probably be presented the ticket of the Green Party in the US. And yeah, you know, that it's just like Biden. Okay, Biden can't move parties already in the Democratic Party. But imagine somebody with the political clout of Biden that had served as vice president choosing to go into a political party. The doors will open anywhere in the world. It will open immediately. But Peter Obi is a former serving governor. The doors will open. So they are not restricted. You already have political currency. And especially for anybody who has run for office, I'll give you an example. Politicians have their ratings. You look, this guy ran for House of Rep. How many votes did he make? Around like 600. Yeah, okay. I'll give you a better example. Let's say he had 600 running for House of Rep, and the person who was a presidential candidate could not have up to 100 votes. The person who has the larger political currency is the guy who had 600 votes. And that is the truth about it. We, the electorate, look at people as he ran for president and the other one ran for House of Rep. No, in the political field, it looks at numbers. So if I pulled 11,000 votes, and let's say the presidential candidate in my party couldn't afford 1,000 votes, my political currency is far higher than his. And that's the way it is. So she went into that situation without political currency, totally a newbie. It's kind of hard to win the primaries and etc. in such a situation.
All right. Thank you very much. We still have more questions. I wanted us to wrap up this conversation and leave.
If you are okay with the time, I've shut down my time.
Okay, I think I will absolutely take these two last ones, and I please urge them to be brief. The mandate held, and I think Noyo Kubeng wants to maybe say something again because she's spoken before. If you can quickly say that, Noyo.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
I just have a question. Like you just brought up the political currency. Like those of us who are not in Nigeria, we are registered with a political party. We contribute financially to the running of the political party. Would that be taken or as would that be our political currency? At least we are helping the party, supporting everything the party is doing, but we are not there physically to partake in some of the things you people do there. But we are here, but we are giving you money and we are helping one way or the other.
Ma, I'm happy you brought this up. And this goes back into my time, even up to COA, and I'm going to cite with examples. So when we're in COA, there were people who were in diaspora that were giving money to COA party. Guess what? The money never reached the ground. I was on the National Executive Council. So if the money doesn't reach on that level, it never reached the ground. Whoever was doing their own thing and soaking up the currency. A worse thing happened in Alliance for New Nigeria. I know people that were offering to pay, who didn't even know me, probably heard me on TV or on radio, and they were like, I love this guy, I love what he's doing. You know what? And they contacted somebody who claimed to be a party person who had access, who said, don't worry, I'll get to Kunle. And it was as much as paying for a massive duplex for a campaign office. So I'm going to clearly tell you, first and foremost, you might be committed to a party, but the conduit between you and the party, if the person is trustworthy, you are fine. The political currency is intact. But most of the time, and I've been in parties, I've served within parties, I've run for, I've seen this thing happen back to back. Somebody else is getting his, if I can use the slang, his groove on, his or her groove on, most of the time. So it's imperative that regardless of which party you are in, you should have access to the party chairman, maybe the woman leader, and say, No. I want this thing to be announced. In short, I want the women of this party to know this is going to be done before I release anything. I want to do Zoom with them. Do you understand? Start insisting and building your own currency. Then sometimes don't put the money in the national woman leader's hand. Put it in somebody you've started talking on Zoom with, whom you maybe have become close to, that you can send maybe a brother you have in Nigeria or something to personally and say, this is what I want to do for the women. We'll go and buy the wrappers together. You give it to the women. Do you understand? You are now circling around the whole system. I've moved to politics 101. Okay, anyway. So you now can play across those kind of, and it will help solve such issues. I'm not saying it's happening with you. I'm just guiding you from what I have experienced or what I've seen clearly. So it will always be, I'm always open to help with such things, help educate on such things. So thank you very much, man.
Okay, thank you very much, Kunle. So the last question from the Mandate Health, if you will let us know your name and ask your question. Go ahead. The Mandate Health Empowerment Initiative. We can't hear you. Can you?
Thank you
I think you should just
okay. Maybe you should type your question. Your connection is really poor. We can't hear you.
Amazing. Yeah. Thank you very much, sir, for the opportunity. Can you hear me?
Okay, let's see.
We can hear you.
Oh, can you hear me, sir? Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, my question is just, I can hear very clear, so sad.
Can you turn off your camera so that your audio comes in clearer? Just turn off your camera. Oh, he dropped.
Okay, there's a question on the chat box from Oluwayemisi Susan. She said, how did you source for the fund you used? Was it solely from your purse or through crowd?
Through a godfather.
Or through a godfather, yeah.
I think he has answered that.
I believe I've answered that question. And that was when I mentioned that I have two godfathers, the Nigerian, and I stated that it was fully crowdfunded and a lot of people believed in me. And that's why a lot of people have also supported me with what I'm doing with the Electoral College. It's the same people that have always supported and believed in my candidacy and what I'm doing to effect democracy, change democracy as it's seen in Nigeria. So it's the same people. I've answered the question earlier. I remember answering.
Okay. Thank you very much. Kunle, I don't know if Pastor is still on the platform, but as we close, because we spent a lot of time.
I'm still here. I'm still here.
Okay, Pastor, go ahead, sir.
No, you go ahead.
I just wanted to find out from Kunle, what are you guys planning this 2023 election, Electoral College? What is it that your organization is looking at doing, and how can Nigerians be part of it, or if at all, what will it require? Because you have been involved in a lot of political literacy, educating the people on what their rights are. So towards the 2023, as we approach it and electioneering is going on, what are you guys looking at?
Okay, first we've looked at political literacy, like I've said, as one of the biggest things we're looking at. So we're interested on different levels. First, we'll be training the electorate to understand what politics and governance is, to be able to affect the kind of choices they make. Now, we're non-partisan, we're non-governmental, so we don't support anybody. We are not key behind anybody. So with this 26 course module, we're even right now, we just opened our 10th cohort. Classes resume on the 18th. And that's our final cohort before elections. So that is going on. While that is going on, we're planning to run multiple Twitter spaces virtually and physically. We're planning to also have a physical symposiums and stuff in conjunction with plenty other with other CSOs and at points in time to be able to educate people. We're also planning partnerships with the media, which we already have with News Central TV, and we plan to expand. We already have one with Plus Politics on issues we want to discuss, which we feel Nigerians should know about. Like I gave an example with diaspora funding. When that was becoming a case, the Electoral College intervened and translated it according to the Constitution. The Electoral College also, like I said, we're looking for how to liaise with debates. So debates too on that. We are not keen on election monitoring and co. That's not. We are focused fully on political education. We also are educating candidates along the line. The Electoral College is fully interfacing with political parties to help build up their candidates. We did something for young legislators running for office in PDP, and we've done also for a few within the APC in different pockets. And we're expanding to chairmanship and other parameters. The Electoral College actually has a load. I feel I'm a donkey right now for 2023. I don't have a life, but we're trying to handle everything we want to do. I would state that I'll drop my email and personal WhatsApp before the end of this if you want to reach out to us. We have multiple collaborations and we are looking at expanding to far more, doing a lot more. And I'd like to thank the ALG for being part of this, part of having me over. It was a pleasure, of course, talking to Nigerians. Most especially, I would like to thank Pastor Itoa and Pastor Olu for the time they spent here, and someone who was yesterday to the state, Moke, and Madam Shade, who has been making facial gestures at anything I say that is funny, who have noticed fully while speaking throughout today. Thank you very much, and everybody else here that is here. Thank you very much.
No, I won't let you get away with just thanking me. There's one more question you must answer. Who is going to win the presidential election in 2023? And you must tell us who. Otherwise, you and this Electoral College, there will be war. I want to know who is going to win, so I know where to happen.
I cannot. Number one, my work with the Electoral College does not allow me to make choices. And secondly, I cannot. Number one, there's one thing to be scared of in this election. 50% of the people that are going to participate in this election, they are not just young. They are people that have never participated in an election before, by statistics. So will they sway the normal way? Will a big brother situation make them make a choice? Will the musician make them make a choice? I cannot tell, and I really can't tell. So what we are just doing is just helping in every parameter we can to make the best choices. We really can't tell. If I had that crystal ball, man, I'll go and meet the candidate and I'll have made a lot of money. Thank you, so I can't talk.
So,
I heard you, but I didn't hear you. I heard you, but I didn't hear you. Okay, all right, Sonny, over to you to close.
Okay, all right. Kunle, we are really grateful for your time on the platform. I believe we and everyone on the platform has been greatly enriched by this process. At least we know more a bit about what's in the Electoral Act and all the great activities that you've been doing with the Electoral College. Like they say in Nigeria, you are still young. You are just in your 40s. I'm sure you still have a very long time in the political trajectory of Nigeria. Even if you decide to run in 2040 something, I'm sure you will still be within the age limits. And so you are preparing yourself and building your political capital or currency, as you call it. We want to thank everyone that has come on the platform on behalf of Pastor Itoa and the entire management team of ALG. We thank you all for being part of this show as usual every Thursday. Keep faith with us. We have launched the scorecard, and I don't know whether they put it on the chat box today again. Let's all try it, and we would like to have feedback from people. That scorecard will enable you to make some kind of subjective, or if you like, objective choice of candidates. We have put certain parameters for you to consider before you choose who to vote for, whether it's in terms of integrity, character, knowledge, exposure, and all of those things. They're in certain criteria. And so that will help people to choose the candidate they want to vote for. ALG, in conjunction with one other CSO, have launched that, and it's already out there in the public space. Let's push it out to as many people as we can on our platforms so that they can take that test as well. Thank you very much once again, everyone, and we hope to see you again same time next week. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Pastor, they are waiting for your usual greeting. Oh. You have to greet them one by one at the end of the
All right, bye-bye. So listen, make I greet you now. So listen, make I greet you now. Humble, the grace.